In our previous lesson, we discussed defining the position requirements. So let's just do a bit of a recap here, just to remind you. So we have the position that we're filling. Remember, this job is for the Alliance customer in their oncology ward. And we want an enrolled nurse. We're looking for a casual enrolled nurse. We're only looking for one of them. And that for a candidate or contractor to be considered appropriate for this job, they need to have the requirement of a Certificate 1 in health support. Remember, we could have named skills, licenses, any number of those. In fact, we could have named many more certificates. There are no limitations here. So anyway, now that we've decided, just recapping, we've got our job header, which is the customer, the work site, who's approving timesheets, who's receiving the invoices. And then we decided that we were going to add the position of an enrolled nurse to the job, and that the enrolled nurse for that job needed to have a Certificate 1 in health support. So the next stage is defining when we want that position to be provided, and that's what we call the schedule. So we click on the schedule, and we're presented with this screen, just confirming again that we're looking for a casual enrolled nurse. Now for this first part, I'm going to create a new schedule. And just to sort of show you some of the capability, we'll create a schedule called it's AM shift, and we're looking for AM shift, and we're looking for a shift to be Monday to, let's make it a little bit different. Let's say Wednesday to Sunday is the AM shift. And the shift, the AM shift, that's a schedule name, by the way. And then, so the shift name is 0800, we're working the 8, and we'll make it to 16:30. That's our shift name. The date range we want them for is Wednesday to Sunday. So we go Wednesday, but we go the week, because the reason we're going to go a week here, it'll become a little bit more obvious, is because it's a weekly cycle. And so therefore we want to move them on a cycle. You see, if I only specified 2 days here, so let's just sort of recap that. So if I just do a cycle like that, that means my cycle is 2 days. That means it's going to repeat every 2 days. So if I wanted a cycle to repeat every 2 days, which means I have, on my first day I'm working 8 o'clock to 1900, and then on the second day I'm off, and then I'm going to repeat that schedule for, the next 4 weeks, then I'll show you how that might look. So then we'll view that in our calendar. So you can see, every alternate, because it's cycling each 2 days, it's repeating the cycle. And then we get a pattern like that. So let's just close that down and let's go back to our weekly pattern. So we want somebody to work Wednesday to Sunday, have Monday, Tuesday off. So therefore we do this. We create the whole cycle for the week. We've got our week. We then specify our time that we want for that week, 8 to 16:30. Actually, we'll go a little bit further and we'll add a break in here. And so we're going to have a break from 12 to 12:30. So that's what I've got here. So I've now got this day, and we want it on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now I can override that, and maybe on Saturdays they don't do that. On Saturdays they start at 10 o'clock. And on Sundays they start at 11 o'clock. Now that's my cycle, and again, if I repeat that for 4 weeks and I view in my calendar, we can see there's my cycle. See, Wednesday to Sunday, 2 days off. I've got my different times on the different days. 10 o'clock start on the Saturdays. That's my schedule, so I can see that. Let's take a little bit further and show another example. So here what we actually want is this employee is going to be, we need an employee who's going to work for 2 weeks or maybe 6 weeks, but they're going to be working on the cycle from the AM in the first week, and then they go into their PM shift in the second week. So therefore we add another shift, and this time we call it the shift name. I quite like using sort of descriptions of the time that they're going to work in the schedule name, because when you're looking at it in the calendar, it's much easier to understand what's going on. So shift name 1500 23:30, 3rd to the 9th. You notice that it actually should be, got that wrong, it's from the 9th to the 15th. See, we've done the first week, 2nd to the 8th, the next week in the cycle is the 9th to the 15th. So we apply that, and now we specify the different times. So we want 1500 to 23:30. Maybe when you're on a PM shift, you don't get a break. Well, you get a paid break. Okay, so now if I look at this now in my 4-week, and I view my calendar, you can see here, see I'm in this state, 8 to some morning shift, afternoon shift, morning shift, afternoon shift, morning shift, afternoon shift. So you can use these cycles really in a really intelligent way to create any kind of pattern you want. So let's just do another example. Let's say for example that we're on a 4-day on, 4-day off. Well, the way to do that is that you come in here and you go 4 days to the 9th. You do it for 8 days because it's an 8-day cycle, 4 days on, 4 days off. So here you go here and you go, okay, dun, and that's what you do. And then when you repeat this for the view calendar, you'll see 4 on, 4 off, 4 on, 4 off. So it's really, really powerful. And essentially you can, this is a really powerful rostering tool that you can use to schedule your positions to meet any kind of requirement that you want for a customer. And then just as we can save requirements, so requirements of a position to a template, you can also save the schedule as a template. So see, this schedule starts on a Wednesday, goes 4 days, then goes 4 days off. So I might save this as a template so that the next time I add a job, I can do so. So this is 4 weeks on, 4 days on, 4 days off. It'd be good if I could type on, 4 days off, and starting on a Wednesday. That means, because what can happen when you use this template later and you say, I want them on the 4-day on, 4-day off roster, but I pick a date sometime in July or August in the future where I want this, and using the template, it's clever enough to know where in the cycle you should be and put you in the appropriate days, taking into account that cycle. So let's just do a bit of a recap. I'm adding a schedule. For a schedule, I can have one or more shifts. In my earlier example, I created 2 shifts. In other words, a morning shift and afternoon shift, and they were on the morning shift in week 1, afternoon shift in week 2. So I can have one or more shifts. I get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shifts, and they all cycle around each other. Within a shift, I give it a name. I quite like to use names which are, time-based, because then when we're looking in the schedule, sometimes you have summary views, and it gives you a quick snapshot so you quickly understand what they're doing. My date range, when you specify a date range, if it's any kind of cycle, you need to do the number of days, the total number of days before the cycle repeats, or before the cycle ends and goes on to a new one. Hence why we had to create this for 8 days, for 4 days on, 4 days off, because the cycle is 8 days long. You can then specify within any day of that cycle, you can specify start-finish times, different start-finish times, complete flexibility. You can add breaks, one or more breaks. So you can have a shift that has 2 breaks. In a sense, think of a break as a period of time that they will not get paid. You can also have the concept, like for example on this Wednesday, I can add another shift within the same day. So I can have in here, okay, so then they're sort of doing like a split shift. So you've even got split shift capability. So you can do that very easily. Other things that you can do is deal with concepts of over midnight. So let's just delete this. And imagine that on this shift here, they're actually starting later on the Saturday. So on their 4th day of the roster, they actually start in the afternoon, or start at, in this case, 8 o'clock at night, and they finish at 4 o'clock in the morning. So here, of course, we get a little warning confirming that we want to have a start time that on first appearance appears before a finish time appearing before the start time of the shift. But this is just reminding us that, well, if we do it like this way, then we're having this person work over midnight. And then again, you can view at any time, if you want to see how your calendar looks, you can see it view. So you can see this here spanning over midnight on that 4th day. So when you've created your schedule, you can repeat the schedule, and therefore it means, like I only need to create this once. So if we were employing someone, they said, we want a position, we're doing a shutdown, or we've got a requirement for this position. We need them for 8 weeks on a 4 day on, 4 day off. Then you simply come down here and say repeat the schedule for 8 weeks, and we're good to go. Just to explain here the end date, like maybe we've got it. Maybe they say I want them until the 30th September on that pattern. So what you do then is you say, okay, we'll just repeat for, you know, some number that's greater than that, because what it will do, it won't create the schedule past this end date, even though my number of weeks I'm repeating for would normally take it past that end date. As I say, the end date is a good way of just making sure you know exactly when the schedule's to end, and you can use your repeat schedule to build it out for you dynamically. So there is our video on the schedule. Hopefully you can see how powerful it is indeed. In another lesson, we're going to talk about the no schedule job. That's essentially where you've got a job and you don't know when you want them. You just got to provide staff almost on an ad hoc basis. So when that's the case, we don't have the predefined schedule, we use the schedule. I talked about saving the template down here. Well, what that means is that next time I come back to add a job, I could select from template, and then I'll be able to select this template name, and it would build the roster that I just built here dynamically itself, taking into consideration the date range. Okay, so there it is. There is your schedule. So in this case, Alliance in the Oncology Ward, managed by Neville Brown. What requires an enrolled nurse who has a certificate 1 in health support, and we need that person working on the 4-day on 4-day off roster, working until the 30th of September. That's the people we need, or sorry, that's when we need the position filled. So there's our schedule explanation. Thank you for taking the time to view this video.